This is our regular meeting of the Clear Creek Community Services District, May 15th. And this is a call to order. Who wants to start?
Well, let's do the pledge first.
Yeah.
Then we'll
It's
do
a
roll
call
call.
to order first.
You just called us to order.
Right,
Oh.
then there's roll call.
Oh, roll call. God, I'll get this one day.
I'll get this one.
Pam, you wanna lead us?
Okay.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You get the next one.
That's fine.
I'm trying to get down the aisle so I don't get confused. Okay, roll call.
Louis Johnson.
Beverly Fickus, Pam Beaver.
Scott McVeigh.
Jerry Lincoln.
Paul Kelly, General Manager.
We don't have a,
No.
good.
That's a good.
My admin assistant is sick.
No, that's too bad. Okay, open time, public comments. Anybody?
I have a public comment.
Well, go for it.
Can I sit here and do it, or you want me to go to the podium?
You can, I don't care,
Say your name.
but you just have to tell.
I will do it from here. My name's Joanne Bloomquist, and I wanna thank Paul and Bill and
Brandon.
Brandon for allowing us to go to the, treatment plant and see how that works. And I would recommend that any board member who has not paid a visit, sign up and go, because it's very interesting. And I think you'll understand when they start talking about things that are happening at the treatment plant, you will understand more about what they're talking about.
I think you went, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
Scott,
we-
well, maybe Scott and I, did you go?
No.
No? Yeah, it's worth it, very worth it.
Oh, yeah, very, very, very interesting, and Bill and Brandon were wonderful hosts, and we really enjoyed it. We had, 10 people.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
Yep, we need to do more tours and definitely get all the rest of you up there for it.
Yeah.
I know, but talking to Director Johnson about it, we just haven't done it yet.
That's hard to do when you're working.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Okay, consent agenda.
Just before we get to this, some of the items, there's probably a few fixes to the minutes for the 417 meeting. All the notes were under the ethics policy, but some of them need to be moved. Same thing with the motion to approve the water usage rates, that needs to be under item B instead of at the bottom of the old and new business. I think you know that our bookkeeper accounting, Melissa Tenney's been out on medical, she's just returned on Tuesday. So we actually were not able to get you a list of bills paid, and we were not able to get you the April P&L. So we are scheduled to have our special meeting on June 5th to, take a look at the budget, and so we may have a little consent calendar item there to catch up on those, just so you know. And then I believe Director Fickus had some typos and stuff.
Yeah, I talked to Shannon about those, but one that she was unsure of was, for Scott and Logan, on the May 1st, Ag Committee meeting minutes.
Yep.
That was the one on page 2 that, Mr. Wharton, looks like he said something about the Shasta Community Foundation, and I was wondering if that was really meant to be the Happy Valley Community Foundation.
I believe that was supposed to be in regards to who runs the, community center.
That would be the Happy Valley Community Foundation.
Okay, so that correction just needs to be updated.
Versus the, Reading.
Did you see it?
Okay, so
I'm trying to find
May
it.
1st, May 1st.
Oh, that's the,
May first, second page,
There we go.
Farmers market,
third line down.
yeah, where it's got a
Okay,
question mark
so-
already.
Yeah, so that is supposed to be,
Happy Valley Community Foundation.
okay, all right. Committee member Wharton is actually sitting in the audience, by the way, and so, nice to see you. Thanks for being here.
That was the only thing that was the unknown.
I appreciate that
yeah.
clarification, because clearly, the two of us that were putting this together, we had a question mark on that.
Yeah.
Because I did the first run and then Shannon. Okay, otherwise I don't think there's anything else.
If that's the case, then I would move that we approve the consent agenda with those corrections.
Second, anybody?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move on to 6A. There's kind of an old note about the Bureau's regional manager, Don Bader, coming last month, but, so that didn't get edited, but the only thing I want to mention here is that we still haven't gotten all of the Bureau's reconciliation documents, but we did get a little notice that they are, they're doing a storage grant program. So I was hopeful that maybe we could get some money to do a 4 million gallon tank up at the treatment plant or something like that. And they said that was too small of a storage. They were gonna go down to like 500 acre feet, which
Would
is
they give
very
us a
small.
couple million to buy Rainbow Lake?
Never know. But, so that's it on that really. Just move on to the next item. I do want to acknowledge that we have Supervisor Kellstrom here, and I know he's gonna get a chance to maybe speak to an item related to the farmer's market or the ag committee report. But this next item is related to the consolidated November election. As the board might be aware, in 2022, we had district board members on the ballot, and the county clerk sent us the attached letter asking for, it's a fact sheet, so Kathy Allen, I do like her letter saying, "Dear Clear Creek Community Services District, our records indicate that your school district has board member seats open." You might notice that I scratched that out for her. But then they also provide just some other information in here. We have 3 full-term seats that would be up for election. Obviously, the district doesn't want to spend the money to do an election without being consolidated with the November election. They did send us the incumbent list. So the copy that you see in here, I removed addresses and things like that just because it's a public document and didn't want to
So
necessarily.
can we stop on that page, go back to the incumbent list?
Yeah,
So it has Logan, Pam, and Scott having their term beginning 12/4/2020. And since they were all, I didn't know if that was a big deal or not.
no. The seat that they are in, that is when that seat's term started. One of the downside of whiting out their addresses is that down below, you see how there's one little one up there that says incumbent-elected-no?
Right.
There's a whole column there, and it has their appointed date.
Oh, okay, so I couldn't see it, perfect.
We confirmed that, but, when we were getting rid of mailing addresses and phone numbers and things, so, they sent us a sample, so I developed an ordinance here, 2024-05. You're supposed to identify the member's, vacancy. The other thing is you have to identify whether or not the district is going to pay for the cost of a candidate statement. And, you'll see in specifications of the election order under number 2, that we require the candidate to pay for that. And then the candidate statement is limited to 200 words, blah, blah, blah. And then, the other parts are just part of the section codes of us joining it. So, we're a little early, we don't have to have this passed until next month, but I thought I had it, I read it, I fixed it, got it ready. So it's here.
Doesn't that at the same time require a declaration by those who are up for, not yet?
Not
Because
yet.
at some point we're supposed to.
So, yes, you have to declare your candidacy. So first of all, we have to return the fact sheet of the incumbent list by July 3rd. I believe you have August 10th or 12th, I don't remember now, in which you have to declare. If an incumbent does not declare, that keeps it open for another 5 days.
Right, and then general public, and then there's.
Anybody
deadline.
can do it. Well, obviously, anybody who's a registered voter in the district can apply between July 15th and August 10th or whatever, I can't remember the exact dates.
August 9th,
August 9th.
right here.
Okay.
Now, the other thing with that, if I'm correct, and our supervisor can correct us if he needs to, I understand that if the 3 involved in this all declare that they're running and no one runs against them, it's automatic and we wouldn't be charged as a district. Because we would not actually appear on the ballot.
Right.
Okay.
That's good. In 2022, we did receive a bill because there were 3 candidates running for 2 seats.
Correct.
So they were on the ballot, and I don't remember now, it was $5,000 or
Something like that.
whatever our proportional cost was. So I might add, I'm putting that in our budget for this next year, just in case that happens. So between July 15th and August 9th, any registered voter can apply for a position. Obviously, the incumbents can submit. If an incumbent does not submit, then that seat would then have a 5-day extension for somebody to file or run for it. The incumbent could not file for it in those 5 days.
But anybody running against any of the 3 up for reelection, it's based on number of votes, I'm not running against an individual or whatever. So,
Yeah. Now, I'm not positive on how they handle if 2 of the 3, because even though they're in seats and they're specified seats, so if there are 5 people running for 3 seats, it's the top 3 vote getters.
yes.
That get a seat. So I'm not really sure how, if one of those seats doesn't file, how that extension works, but I don't think we'll have to worry about it. Any other questions?
So, do you have any questions out there? Yes, ma'am.
I have a statement. I
Okay.
hope you all run.
I'm not gonna run, I'm sorry.
You're not, Terry?
You can walk.
He's not up for it, it's Logan, Pam, and Scott. So Terry and
Oh,
I.
Terry and you don't have to run.
That's right,
Thank
because
you.
they ran.
I'm hoping that Scott and, Pam and Logan run again, because I think you guys make a good team, you seem to work well together, so. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Terry, who's not running.
He was being a little sneaky.
Yes, he was.
Do we need,
I move that we accept ordinance number 2024-05.
I second it.
I will too.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent.
That's done now?
Yep.
Good.
I can now get all that sent in, and it's all in the clerk's,
Now, can we as incumbents simply instruct you to inform the registered voters that we intend to run again?
No, I
I
believe
that's what has been done in the
because
past.
we're now part of the consolidated elections, you have to file that with the clerk.
Oh, okay, so that's a little change.
I think they should move that whole office out here to Happy Valley, so
There you go.
we don't have to drive and ready.
Yeah. Next up, 6C, the Ag Committee report and recommendation to support a farmer's market. As you saw in the last, there's a couple of minutes from the last couple of Ag Committee meetings. You have Director McVeigh and Johnson as on the committee. Director McVeigh is chairing the committee. We have 3 members of the public, Dennis Polsan, Dr. Harrell, and Mr. Wharton, who's across the street.
You say right there.
There's also been, so there's been multiple discussions about how to encourage agriculture in the district. It's primarily, there's been talk about reinvigorating farm trails, there's talk about, at least I'm interested in getting like a farm advisor and folks at the college to come and use this facility to make presentations, do educational seminars for everything from raising cattle to chickens to growing olives or whatever it might be, or large gardens. Over the last couple of meetings, it's gotten clearer and clearer that there's interest in a Happy Valley farmers market, and so we actually did reach out to our insurance carrier in case we hosted it here or a piece of property that we own, but more importantly, just to kind of get what would be sort of a use agreement or hold harmless or those kind of things. So that's been presented to the committee. It appears, and I'll let Director McVeigh take it here momentarily. But we could obviously put it in our newsletter that the farmers market's up and running. We could put information even on the bills now that our new billing software allows us to do that. We could send a postcard to all of our ag customers. I'd have to kind of get an okay from the board to do that. It might cost a few $100, just running a quick calculation on it. The other things here are, part of our normal billing cycle and stuff. And I think the committee is looking to be like a volunteer type of deal and try to get more people involved. And so with that, I'll let Director McVeigh kind of describe what the committee's thinking.
Okay. With discussions through whether it should be a farm trail or a farmer's market, it was determined that the farmer's market would probably initially work out best. Has everything in one site, you don't have to try to go to somebody's home and hope they maybe are selling something. We reached out to both the community center and to Bonnie's Burgers. The board at the community center was not prepared to discuss it. And having talked with the owners of Bonnie's Burgers, they have agreed that the lot right next to them is available. So it's a matter of confirming with them. We have checked on both locations would require a porta potty. That's been checked in, what the cost would be and whatnot. Research has been done on maintenance of a porta potty, how often to empty it, all that kind of stuff. The concerns now are getting people in the community aware of it, interested in coming down and starting. We have a tentative start date of June 22nd. So we would be doing it on the 2nd and 4th Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. That would be the plan right now. And so it's a matter of reaching out to neighbors. It's not just for ag customers, it's for anybody. And it doesn't have to be produce. You have eggs, bring the eggs. You have, my computer's acting.
What Saturday is the second?
2nd and 4th, starting on June 22nd. But yeah, the people who grow lavender, you have lavender essential oil, you've got soaps. We're hoping to have a small booth or display there for the Firewise Committee, you know, to keep
What
that
about-
information.
What if people wanna bring crafts?
Sure, why not? The thing with that is it will not be a certified farmer's market. So, no scales, you wanna buy tomatoes, it's 2 for $1, or X amount for the basket, or, you know, individually priced, in other words. Anything else down there, Director Johnson?
No, it's all pretty exciting developments. I regret that I wasn't in attendance at the last meeting, so it's all news to me.
Okay. But we worked through the process and,
What about, at the downtown farmers market, they have an organization, so they have kind of rules they have to play by.
we will be working on those. That is one of the things, including who's gonna be there. As directors, we really shouldn't be in charge of it. We need to insulate the district a little bit. So we're looking for community members to kind of step up and help with, you know, the organizing of it and whatnot. I'm willing to be involved and help with it. Our job is mainly to facilitate this, project, but not be in charge of it, so we will facilitate our way the best we can. And we'll set down some procedures. We're supposed to have an A-frame being made to go out to the corner.
For a sign,
Yeah,
Dennis can work on one of those.
and, I believe,
I went to the Reading Farmers Market this past weekend, and they had about 30 vendors there. About 40% were vegetables, fruits, nuts, and eggs. And the other 60% were half crafts and half foods, prepared foods. And I went to the Beadman Craft Fair. It had about 2.5 times the vendors that were at the farmers market, and about 3 times the customers or would-be customers walking around. It was just huge and flooded. Parking was an issue.
yes.
And then I went online to see about the porta potty issue, and the Shasta County Municipal Code is online, and it does not deal in any chapter with porta potties. In fact, it has a general sanitation chapter that makes specific that we're not regulating porta potties.
That's correct.
And then I looked for the state and the health and safety code. They don't have anything in there that's specific to porta potties. But I did find in California County that had an ordinance, and it was jumping once a week minimum. And there was a lot of people in the business who had them for rent, et cetera, and they said once a week. And there was a 916 area code porta potty business that gave a calculator for how many porta potties you need for X amount of tenants for X amount of hours.
I've done that same research. I'm very familiar with what you're talking about.
Good.
And I have the calculations and whatnot. In fact, on Amazon is a chemical that will liquefy and deodorize any waste in the porta potty.
Kathy Schmidt, has ties to Happy Valley and has always treated Happy Valley very well. And she owns the big porta potty business around here.
There's 2, Welch and Big Valley.
Big Valley, she owns Big Valley, she's on Clear Creek. And she and her husband, when Bill was alive, they always treated Happy Valley wonderful.
Okay. They were the best price, by the way, $47 a month for their, plus
Do you have
any
to rent it
service.
for the month, or just, why can't you rent it for
Because of delivering back and forth, the charge. So they would rather drop it for the month. I've talked to the owners of Bonnie's Burgers. We would stick it around the back so it's not visible from the street, so you wouldn't have the risk of vandalism. So I'm trying to work through those different issues.
I prepared a report on what I did, and I'll give
Can
a
you
copy
reach
to
out to
everyone here.
Thank you.
Did you hear that?
No, I didn't. Would you repeat, please?
I prepared a report with attachments of what I did, and I'll leave a copy with everyone here.
Okay.
I've only brought 6, one for me and one for the committee, but I'll give one to each of you, and then tomorrow I'll make 3 more. I'll give you one and one for the other 2 volunteer members. And I was the one that got saddled with the A-frame sign, but I consulted the design consultant, the lady to my left, and she made a design for me that I like, but I haven't got the project quite finished.
That's fine. It's not June 22nd yet.
She's sound asleep, so we can't bother her.
She has a long day.
So the important thing right now is to get the word out to the community, and we need to determine, contact information. They will have questions, so who's willing to give out their phone number and answer the questions? I got a feeling it's gonna be me.
Not me.
Oh, Captain, my captain.
So if we do the postcard, then I guess it's gonna have to have my name and phone number on it to answer questions initially.
So let me just throw a little wrench in that.
Please do.
What do we have? How many ag customers do we have? 150, 200?
276?
Not very many.
Not very good.
So when you consider that a lot of people have, raised chickens on a lot of less acreage, they don't have ag water.
Correct.
So then, just targeting your ag customers
I
is not,
agree.
I don't think is sufficient.
What do you think about us just putting like a different colored flyer for and just send it to everybody?
Yeah.
Yes.
And attached to the newsletter, I mean.
Because a lot of people who also have ag, all you have to have is, I think, 3 or 5 fruit trees or trees that you water. And so we're also could be wasting a lot of money with that. Whereas Bev is right, there's people who have chickens, or people who have goats, or people who have smallness in their herds that would be interested, that wouldn't get it otherwise.
That's a valid point. I was gonna ask that it be also included in the district newsletter.
And that costs about how much? Because you have to have an extra paper for the,
It's an extra $50,
you know,
$56.
something, yeah, remember we were trying,
It's
citizens.
pretty de minimis, I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think
That would be
as
better.
a
than-
community contribution, to be honest with you, it would be cheaper than doing this.
Yes.
But I don't know, I was just reporting kind of what was talked about, but I like the idea of just having a different colored flyer in there.
There's a spot on Facebook, and then I see on that spot, a lot of people advertising eggs, bakery. There's a lady who bakes bread in this area. Maybe you could put some kind of a, little flyer in that on that Facebook page. In fact, I think there's 2 of them. And,
That would be good.
let people
Who does
know
Facebook?
about
Because I
this
don't.
that's coming up,
I got
because
that.
they would probably be interested in participating.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be. The other day I went through and there was guys selling strawberries. There was that gal that bakes the bread.
Yeah.
And then there was
The tamale lady?
Oh, the tamale lady was there.
That'd be
the
great.
bread
I'd buy
bakers,
some.
all 3 of them were lined up at the corner of Happy Valley and Canyon.
Canyon, yeah.
So, yeah, they're
Good.
probably just looking for another opportunity.
Supervisor Kellstrom's here,
Can
we ask
Pick on him?
is there any issue with if we do that for Bonnie's?
With the farmer's market, so Scott originally talked about the community center, so I had the head of code enforcement look that up yesterday, matter of fact, and said the community center is built 1955, it's zoned properly, you could have it at the community center, there would be no issues. But now that it's another place, it would be the zoning, but quite frankly, I would just do the farmer's market, call me if there's any issues, there shouldn't be any issues. And the certified versus regular, I talked to Scott about that, so to be certified farmer's market, you have to get the government has to get involved, so you have to go to the county and get a permit. There was quite an issue a couple of years ago, they did a cost analysis of what that permit costs, so they used to charge everybody $20, and everybody's willing to pay $20 to get a permit to sell a farmer's market. After they did their cost analysis, it was $240, and so there was quite an outrage on that, and so I asked our director of resource management, I said, why do you even have to have a permit? Why does the government even have to be involved? And that's when he said, a certified farmer's market, you have to get a permit. If it's not certified farmer's market, it's just farmer's market, the claim is, the difference is you can go to Costco and buy a jug of honey in 4 little jars, you know, and then claim it's homemade or whatever, and then, to me, that's buyer beware, so. It's much easier to just keep the government out of the whole thing, so, yeah. So I don't think you'll have an issue, I'll check that address and run it past them, there shouldn't be an issue, and if there is, I'll take care of it, so.
Is it still 20 or do you go to 240?
Well, if it's certified, so it's, they moved it back to 20.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's still 20, but you don't need a permit at all if it's not certified.
Right, so to that point, we're going to put out a flyer in the May newsletter that's gonna go out. Do we need to, what's that, June newsletter? Because the May's already out.
Yeah.
Do we need to, Happy Valley Farmers Market, and then underneath, an asterisk or any sort of disclaimer say that this is a non-certified?
No.
There's no need to specify. Okay.
No.
Okay. But it's probably gonna have to have my name and phone number as contact.
If we could make something, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Well, I mean, we have to draw attention to it, it can't be.
It's a separate flyer with a different color, it should be two different.
Yeah, but if you don't make it inviting, they won't look at it, it's just another piece of paper to throw away.
Well, we can only do so much.
That's why
Well,
we
but
need.
If the horse isn't thirsty.
All suggestions welcome, and even when Caitlin, she got a nice design for the sign, if she has some idea on a banner, then we'll ask.
Okay. I have a question about out at Bonnie's, is there parking there?
Yes, and there's parking right across the street.
There's a big empty field, just,
It's about 1 acre.
It's all theirs.
yeah.
Is it all mowed where you can?
Yes.
It's all theirs.
I'll double check and put a little time in.
And then the school is right across.
Yeah, the school is right across the street. The
Plenty of
elementary
parking
school.
there.
Okay.
There's lots of parking.
Cause I'm not sure if it was mentioned, but I think what the thought is 8:30 to 11.
8 to 11.
8 to 11 on a Saturday morning.
Once baseball season's over,
Yeah. there's
which
no-
is fairly soon.
Well, the heat too.
Well, yeah, that's why you
During the
stop by
summer, people
11.
go out early and.
Right. I think that wraps up that.
Yeah.
I think we can move on.
Okay.
Well, I think,
Does he have to say anything more? Does
Chris?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I'm good.
We don't want him to, do we?
Thank you, Chris, for doing that.
No problem.
yeah, thank you Supervisor, and thank you for, your support of the area and the district for sure. Okay, last, month, we had the first look, of the board after a bunch of work on a couple of policies. So we took, the procurement, competitive bidding, and emergency contracting policy. You might recall that it was, last, updated in 2005, just a few months ago. So this is an update, modernization of it, but you recall we couldn't approve it last time until we had an ordinance, so you have an ordinance in front of you. I think there may have been one typo that we fixed between, last month and this month, but otherwise it's ready for your approval.
I had one question.
Yes.
We talked about a form for the phone bids and that. Are you gonna make that a part of this, or, just kind of unofficially have a?
Yeah, we kind of checked on that and just decided to keep it kind of clean and just make it separate, but yeah, it'd just be.
That's fine, as long as you've got something that they can have in front of them when they make the calls and jot down, so.
Yeah, I'll use a quick example, it's pretty simple right now because I wasn't sure what the answers were gonna be. But as you know, we had a volunteer going through the back, and there's some remnants here, this back, room that used to be for like closed session and stuff like that, but it's so overflowing with, old documents. And in many cases, they're like, I don't know, Ace Hardware invoices from 10 years ago, so we don't need them. So I've had Shannon on the phone with a little sheet calling, mobile shredding companies and just writing down what they said it would cost, so that's what we're doing.
I always found it was helpful to have a form where I could just jot down who I talked to and how much. cause then I had to turn it into property.
Yeah.
And he'd yell at me.
One question.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, we were discussing also part of when a bid had to come out, and I thought you had it somewhere that the general manager could authorize things up to 25,000, but I believe I questioned that. We had to do some research to see if that was in your contract, that we had allowed that limit.
Yeah, didn't find anything actually in the contract specified.
I thought when we were doing that, we had, just off of memory, that may or may not be accurate, a limit was 10,000, I thought.
Yeah.
And I could be wrong.
So with the superseded, which, good, then the problem's cured.
If the board's comfortable with 25. That's the only reason I bring it up.
I saw nothing I would wanna correct, I think it's very inclusive and very, businesslike.
Well, I would just say, since as you know, this will be policy number, I don't know, Emily and I were just talking about, I think number about 11 or 12 that we've updated in the last 9 months, so. You might see that, I think we'll probably be better at reviewing them than almost 20 years since the last time this was reviewed. And we have in here, every 3 years for it to be reviewed. So if we find something that needs to be updated, we can do it before that.
I move that we approve ordinance number 2024 regarding procurement, competitive bidding, and emergency contracting policy.
2024-06?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next up is, same thing, ethics policy, we looked at it last time. There had been a couple of updates, that I had, passed on to, Emily, then, it looks like we missed one. So, on the last page, there's a little, very small section, changes in director's compensation. Changes in the compensation rate for the board of directors of district employees will require approval of the board of directors during an open meeting of the board. And we talked about that there's a water code section that says, $100 max, and then you can raise it a certain amount per year. And this currently is 5%, I think?
5%. In an open public.
Yeah, so
Announced.
my recommendation, I had given it, is water code section 20202.
Yeah.
So, and it just didn't get in here, so this section should read, saying, during an open meeting of the board of directors in compliance with water code section 20202. And if you're okay with that, we can make that addition and fix, when you've approved it.
Yeah, with those changes. If there are no questions, I move it.
Wait, I have a question. Under conflict of interest,
Yeah.
you refer that, for accepting gifts specified in FPPC, can't you just put in there how much it is? Rather than make me go before these lavish gifts start coming?
It changes every year though.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it can change. Sometimes it's, $50 or 75 or 25, and then I thought there was something that was $750, so.
I don't ever remember ours changing, so.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah, we had this conversation, with our fantastic, volunteer who was kind of reformatting all this stuff. And we tried to change all the policies from having a set number that could potentially change to a reference.
Okay, that's fine.
And Director Pickus is right, it has bounced around in time. I think the 750 is kind of an aggregate number from one source, but there is a number, it's $50, it's been 35, it's been Okay, well, if you know what, it should at least once have the full
Yep.
Yeah,
item, so it's.
but I had to look for one other one too in the, last one.
Yeah, all right, well, this one, FPC stands for the Fair Political Practices Commission, and so we will, at least have that stated once prior to the first time it's
I
been.
thought it was stated oh, it is, no, yeah, it is stated down under, on the little bitty stuff on the bottom.
Yeah, I don't
Number
like it,
5.
I don't like it in small things like that, so
Yeah.
we're gonna,
Just move it up.
Oh, but that's a typo down there
and
too.
that's a typo.
It's got it with an S.
Anybody in the public wishing to address us on this?
Well, I move that we approve the ordinance with the corrections that we've made for the ethics policy, ordinance number 2024-07.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right.
Right along.
We're gonna move along.
Holy.
There's not as much, so
Yeah.
the general manager's report, first, a quick reminder, and for the public, in the video, last year, we started the process of having, the next year's budget be ready for approval at the June meeting, so that you know the district in the past has at times not passed their budget until July or August, or even into September. Well, actually statutorily, we gotta get budget in August, but, we are gonna have our first draft budget review by the finance committee next week. And then we have a special meeting scheduled for June 5th. Everybody had that on their calendar last time. So we'll be reviewing, the first viewing of the draft budget, taking any comments, input, and, the rest, and then we'll bring it back. And it will be posted in the newspaper that, we're having, a budget, adoption June 19th. Also, on the June 5th meeting, as you know, we've, one of the concerns I had when I got here a year and a half ago is we've been with the same bank for a long time. So we've been reviewing, some potential, changing to another bank. So that'll probably be on the June 5th, agenda. Well, it will be if we can get it there on time, which I'm very confident, with all the intention of having it effective July 1. So fiscal year, we would have, banking stuff. So that's just a quick one on the schedule. The other thing on the schedule, May 29th, which is the last Wednesday of the month, is, when we have another ag committee meeting, and we'll be finalizing some of the other things. But I will tell you that the flyer will need to already be done by then, so we'll be working on it next week. Also, I did attend the Ono Community Services District meeting last night, just to check in with our neighbors, keeping up the friendly communication. Also to see if they've heard anything new related to the Igo School, fire hydrant. I think I reported to you before that, the water, side of the Public Works Department had done a brief assessment on that and sent me a little engineering report. We're really only included because we provide potable water to the school there, that it's outside of our district, so anything that happens there, we gotta make sure that the CSD, IGO knows up to speed, knows what's going on. I think that the board recalls that, oh my gosh, it was probably late 80s, early 90s when the North Booster Station was updated and the line was run from there to the county transfer station, the Veterans Cemetery, and then went north to the Igo School. So we may have one other customer on that line, but those are our primary customers on that line. So it's all out, it's out of our service area, but we'll keep paying attention. And I think the engineering report basically pointed to the best way to get fire suppression, at the school would be to use our water, put it into a tank, and then have a pressurized system. Makes a lot of sense instead of us having to upgrade our line and system to supply the pressure that they would need. So we'll see how that plays out. The other thing I would just mention before I get to kind of the staff side of it, we did close out the emergency electrical and SCADA repair project. Just as a reminder, in April of 2022, Bill had, well, earlier than that, Bill had applied to the state for money to improve our communication with our south wells and the booster station. During the height of that drought, when we were very reliant on our wells, it was hard without sort of electrical and SCADA communications with them to do anything other than just kind of flip one well on, run it at 1,500 gallons per minute, and then give it a rest and flip the other one on, instead of having all three wells running at 500 gallons per minute and coming together and stuff. So that was a $477,000 grant. I actually today got an email saying that they've approved our last payment, and I think we saved, we spent $38 less than $477,000. So we saved the beautiful state a few bucks. But that being said, you know, that and $5 will get you a cup of coffee, because they haven't, well, you're right, now it's 7, but they owe us $366,000 of that $477. They keep telling us that they've paid it, but actually having them cut the check is a different story. But we're closing that out. Really good. We've got our new SCADA machine that's also going to get updated as part of that. Still waiting on the bridge financing for the Backwash Ponds project. But just as a quick reminder, you know, we have Allen Gill Construction, slightly less than $5 million on a 2-year project up at the treatment plant below Whiskeytown Lake to replace 2 of our ponds and do a concrete lining instead of an earth and clay lining. So it'll increase our maintenance abilities, reduce our infiltration of the water, because after the car fire, if you ever do drive down there, you'll see that the east of the road as you're going down to the treatment plant pretty much denuded with trees, and so a lot of that water gets under the road and comes into our ponds. So that project, we are scooping out the last of the sludge in 2 weeks, and we're still hoping to get it started mid-June. And it's 1 pond this year, completed by the end of September. That way, because we can't be without 2 ponds while we're making water, and then next year we'll do the other pond. Thanks to the county, the ARPA funds, there was, recall there was an allocation of some ARPA funds for water districts. We had submitted all of our paperwork to, as you know, we have less than 1/3 of our meters that have registers and transponders, so we can drive by them and read the meters. And those that we have are all getting close to 20 years old, so their batteries are going out. So we've been replacing some of those, but based on a $265,000 grant from the county, we are able to add also new, about 1,700 of our meters are going to get transponders. And we got our first reimbursement from the county for $95,000 yesterday. So I wanted to bring that up, and specifically to thank Supervisor Kellstrom for his efforts on that, and thank his office and all the rest. He's been fantastic to help us improve it. Just so you know, I mean, right now, of course, now we have new guys, so it might even take longer, but it takes those that actually know where the meters are a week to get the meter reading done. And this, once we're done with this, it should take 2 days. to be able to drive by. So since the last time we met, we went from, in mid-March, 4.5 people in the distribution division to 1.
Does that 4.5 include the supervisor?
Yeah, 4.5, so that's Chad plus, the supervisor plus the other 3. 2 of them went to, Bella Vista, 1 has gone to the city of Shasta Lake, and, the distribution supervisor resigned on May 1st. So we, had already started recruiting for, we knew that it was gonna be hard to get a distribution operator 3 in, since that was why we lost one of our guys to Bella Vista. They had recruited, they had sent mailers to 600 D3s in the state and got nobody, and then they snagged our guy.
More money, is that why?
A few of them, but no, not in this case. He, didn't, in March, the district supervisor here had not resigned yet, and so he was looking to go to a place where he could potentially get a distribution supervisor job.
Is that what we're talking about, is the treatment plan, or are we talking about something, some other?
Down here, not the treatment plant.
Okay,
That's
so
not
we're talking
Bill, we're
here.
talking about the guys that handle all the pipelines, distribution. Yeah, we have a treatment division, that's Brandon and Bill, and, was part-time Chad. And down here we have a distribution division, so that's fixing all our leaks, doing all the water tests, and all the maintenance down here, and that's the 4.5 people there. And then we have a distribution supervisor who resigned. So we had 3 really good candidates for the distribution 1 position. We've hired 2 of them, we're gonna hire a 3rd one next week. But they all gotta be trained and get their certifications and everything, but they're very eager and they're very good. We obviously had very good luck last year hiring 3, entry-level people and getting them trained. We did such a good job, other districts took them. So,
Yeah.
that's it. Now, the hard part's gonna be getting a distribution supervisor. We have it out on the street, we're recruiting for it. It's been hard to get people to move to Shasta County from elsewhere, so it's mostly, sort of internal, to other districts. Hoping we get some good candidates, but we'll just wait and see. But, in the interim, I've reached out to basically, it's a temp agency for water operators. It's a company called Water Talent. They have a bunch of, distribution 1, 2s, and 3s, and 4s, and treatments 2, 3s, and 4s. And they actually have somebody in Shasta County who retired from another district who has experience, who would be willing to come in and do some work for us. I actually met with him today, and we've got things like updating our safety standards, updating our construction standards, also onboarding these new employees and starting getting them on the right foot for training. And all of it can be done without necessarily full-time. So, we're working on that, so that's an interim solution, because we're just not sure when we would be bringing on somebody, full-time.
So Paul, in the distribution department, we have 4.5 employees. And so we have 1 now, and we've hired 3 more. So we're up to 4 without a supervisor. Where are we getting the money for another full-time person to be the supervisor?
Well, currently, if you look at your distribution and your treatment division, you have a total of 7 people. Okay. You had 4.5 in the distribution, that's the old Chad Crick job of a T3, D3. And in the treatment division, you had Bill, Brandon, and half of Chad's time. So,
So now we're down to Bill and Brandon.
Brandon. So what our plan is, we are talking to the union about, having a operator in training job description position. That's a T3 job. We have currently, the only guy left in the distribution division is more interested in treatment than he is in distribution. He would like to get his hours to be a full T3. It takes about 1,500 hours-ish to get your T3. You gotta pass the test, and then you have to work at the treatment plant for 1,500 hours. Our current T3 job description requires you to get your certification in 3 months. So what we're planning to do is work with the union, create a operator in training, which is something Shasta does, something Reading does, a lot of those that have treatment plants have operator in trainings. And we'll set that pay scale at the V2 pay scale and give them 12 months to get their T3. And then so they can be there full time. So the plan would be you have 3 full-time employees at the treatment plant and 4 full-time employees in distribution. That's 7, be back at 7 basically. Because
Okay. I can live with that. I can't see us affording another employee when we've got to fix the treatment plant.
well, I think if we do not provide some more backup and people working at the treatment plant, the 2 that are there could burn out. To be honest with you, so that's one reason I think it worked to have a half and a half. We weren't going to be able to replace that position. There just aren't any T3s out there that were available. Plus, the reality is just the way the division was being managed, that position was spending more time here than at the treatment division. So I think getting 3 distribution operators up to speed and getting a distribution supervisor, that would be a 4-person division.
Okay.
And having 3 in it.
That makes sense, because then we would have somebody who would be a good supervisor, train them to do what they needed to do, and, they could work as a team, hopefully, because that wasn't happening.
Yeah, because and we wouldn't need that T3 to be there so much to basically cover for all that stuff.
Right.
So, that's where we're going. Not only, is, unfortunately Shannon out sick today, but she gave notice yesterday as well. So our admin assistant is, leaving at the end of the month. She's going to, she's not going to another district, she's going in the private sector like Kayla did before her, but, pretty significant, pay raise and opportunity for, growth. So she felt pretty bad knowing where we were at, but she couldn't turn down the opportunity. So we will be recruiting for a replacement. So, I went on vacation and I had a wonderful time. My first week-long vacation. It's been a little bit rough the last week and a half.
So as we are beginning to recruit, are we looking at our salaries and if they're comparable to where we're going to? Kayla was so strong, she was tough, she was tough to replace, and we were just lucky that Shannon knew what was going on, so, we're gonna need somebody who's good.
Didn't we have this conversation when Kayla left though, that Paul went through and tried to look and see even if we maxed her out, if we could get close, and it just wasn't.
Yeah, she was good, and she pretty much told the person that was trying to pull her away that you know, the top of my scale is X, and if you give me Y, which I think was about $15 more an hour, then I'll go, I'll take the job, and there was nothing I could do about that, and, I think in this case, Shannon's in a slightly different, but similar, in other words, she's got, I gotta say, for all of our D2s, D1s, and D3s, we are at or slightly higher than Bella Vista. Our clerk is right at Bella Vista, and our admin assistant starts slightly lower. So I believe that we're reasonably competitive, but I also think we have to recruit at what our current is before we
I
have to.
just wanna give you a fair
Yeah.
playing field.
I think, you know, I think where I may need some flexibility is, you know, maybe, I can start somebody at step 1 or step 2, but I think I need board approval to start somebody at step 3 or 4. So that would be something we might have to come back and look at. You know, I will just say, you know, the CPI just came out today, I did the calculation, and all of our employees are getting a 3.2 COLA, July 1. So that will also help kind of bump that pay scale. So, there you have it. I don't know if I even want to talk about anything else, but, you know, I do just want to mention though that, Director Pickus and I, and she can do this later, but we did attend the Aqua JPIA conference last week. Monday and Tuesday is the Joint Powers Insurance Agency portion. Then after that, the Association of California Water Agencies. I think I mentioned to you, since I, in my previous lives, sat as the chair of the board there. They actually pay my $850 registration, so I can actually go to the conference, saving the district quite a bit of money. The Joint Powers Insurance Agency, you know, we just spent a lot of time dealing with the OPEB issue. I think next time we are up for the MOU, we may want to look at not having CalPERS medical insurance. We may want to look at other things. JPIA does have a medical benefits thing, so they had a meeting Monday morning, so I did sit through that. I will say that most of the JPIA portion of the conference was not nearly as scintillating as the previous one. That was supposed to be a joke. Insurance, scintillating, right? Very exciting.
Just a tad bit dry.
It's a bit dry. Actuarials and all this other good stuff. But you know, in the past, they had kind of a very interesting presentation on cybersecurity and some other things I know I've reported to you on. Generally, we're doing, the trend is good for workers' comp. One of the things that's really valuable about the Joint Powers Insurance Agency is you have to have your district insured by them. You have to be a member of Aqua, and that means they're insuring water districts. So, you know, when your employees have their certifications and they're current, which they weren't a year and a half ago, that means they have, you know, their standards, right? So that actually reduces our cost of insurance, basically, because the insurers know that they're doing things per their certifications. So, but I just, on the Aqua side, there was a audible gasp and some fear when the governor actually showed up to make a presentation at our little talk there. And I would say, as is normal, it was a lot about him, and so, but he said a couple things that were very important to us on the North State. One, he reiterated his support of Sykes Reservoir, and even quoted some of the numbers that we know, that if it had been built by now, we would have gotten about 1 million acre-feet of water in there just this last winter because of the excess flows, and regretting that we don't have that now. So we did that. The other thing was the voluntary agreements. They now call it Healthy Rivers and something or other, you know, some marketing term for it. But that, in the past, there was suspicion that the governor was going to support what was called unimpaired flows. In other words, there was where the state board was going to allow just no water use for anything other than it just goes unimpaired into the delta and for the fish. So those were two things that actually were pretty significant that I think we were all willing to applaud. There were a couple other items. I brought you some freebies that they give out if anybody's interested in them. Otherwise, I'll let Director Fickus mention anything she wants to mention about JPIA when we get to the member comment. Sorry for taking a little longer time, but the staff thing is obviously a big deal, and I wanted to report to the board on what we're doing, the best we can do.
We'll forgive you.
Operation report. The main thing I wanted to mention here, the number of accounts that are delinquent is slightly down. You can see that we report that we sent some shut-off notices. People have been coming in to pay bills. But one of the things that we've noticed is the new software, the new CSI software. There are more people actually paying online. We've seen a slight reduction in the number of people calling to pay with their credit card. They're just doing it online. Because we get a batch report of payments online, and Shannon and Caitlin have recognized some of the accounts, saying, oh, so they used to call every 5th of the month with their credit card. Now they actually did it online. The other thing is the state is no longer funding the payment assistance program. So LEWOP, the local LEWOP's been fantastic to work with for us. I've reported in the past, we've probably gotten well over $100,000 of their payments for our customers that were delinquent, mostly during the drought and during the pandemic. And we just got a kind of a final payment from LEWOP to pay off some of their bills that they've committed to. You can see that under the operations side of things, we replaced up at the treatment plant an air compressor that was 40 some odd years old. The ponds 2 and the pond 3, the sludge is drying, and we're going to get that out I think May 28th or 29th. And then they've done an inspection. Unfortunately, we found in train 4, filter 6, the media bed was a little had some depressions on it, and that's similar to what we found in train 6 about 2 years ago, before train 6 now is offline and needs some major repair. Under the distribution side of things, one of the things that I need as we get a new distribution supervisor, we need to do assessment of our equipment. I do still think that there's value in moving forward with looking at a back trailer, and there may well be value in no longer having a dump truck that requires a Class A license, and maybe going more towards dump trailer and a different truck, or even Axners going to mini excavators that don't weigh as much, so you can actually pull them on a trailer with your regular truck. So there's some things, these are out ahead. We are getting a cost from PACE to do back to the treatment side analysis. I think that's part of what we talked about before. The base rate we pay for an analysis of the train 6 in this case, and kind of true up what that cost is. We also got some other stuff that we want them to look at, so we know how much money we need to apply for a grant for. That's it on that one. Oh, Director, Fickus had mentioned that, you know, we put the consumer confidence report in everybody's, mailer. There's, there was a mention, on, I think it's sodium and hardness, like a couple of the things that are reported on there that haven't been tested since 2018. So we're talking to the state about, do we even need to report those if you don't require us to test those very regularly? I mean, I think one of them is every 10 years. And then the only other thing I've mentioned on the committee side of stuff is a reminder that, we have a finance committee May 22nd, we have an ag committee meeting on May 29th, and we have our special meeting on June 5th.
Back to the distribution operations, fire
Yes.
hydrant replacement, okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to see us pull off and not contract it out only for the money part of it. If this young man can drive equipment and help out with that, then I just, I wanna conserve every dollar we can.
Yeah, well, we're not gonna do that one probably for a month or so. It's gonna be an expensive one anyway. On the other hand, you know, we're getting into fire season and we're kind of,
We are up in hard spot.
yes, we're doing a dance on this one. And one of the things, so I'm hoping we get our new staff up to speed enough to be able to do it. But we probably, the estimate that I've had is it's a 12-hour plus job potentially. But if I can bring in, somebody like Axner Excavating to do some of the, excavation work, dewatering, and backfill, I can shorten the amount of overtime that I have to pay. So, we're working on it, but right now, I'm thinking July. Hopefully.
But just the hydrant itself, we're talking $20,000, right?
Yeah, well, the part of the challenge is, it's got a tee off the main, it doesn't have even a valve, so we've got to shut off 120 customers down there to do it, so.
It already love us.
Yep.
All right, I covered the committee, meetings, we took care of the ag committee report basically in the previous item. With that, I would say board member items, and I would suggest Director Fickus tell us about the scintillating insurance.
Well, you know, when we talk about JPIA, it's like, what is it? You know, what is JPIA? It's our insurance program. Well, what does that mean? So that part was interesting. It was mostly, day one was mostly just business. They were doing their financials and going through their budget and things of that nature. So that was the dry part. And just not really understanding. They talked a little bit about pooling, I think, on day one, but it just didn't click. On day two, it was just a half a day. There was a gal who must do it all over the United States, but we pool with other water districts, and that's how you get your insurance at a lower cost. Because you're pooling just like-minded people or like-minded organizations together. So that was kind of interesting, showing how that they can, influence the rates a little bit by how well other districts do, or our rates increase by how poorly other districts do. So it all depends upon the whole group as a whole, or a family. One of the other things that I thought was really interesting and telling was that the gal said, you may have had employees or board members that have been employees for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. That's not the trend now. You'll be lucky to retain a person more than 5 years. So it's like, bingo, that's where we're at. They're just in and out all the time. So that was a real, kind of a statistic that kind of hit home, is that we're not an anomaly. We're part of the trend. So, that kind of just made me feel good, because you think, well, what are we doing wrong in our district that we're losing everybody? So, that was real good. So it was a interesting kind of a meeting per se, just to find out a little bit about what really JPIA means. So that was my take.
Very good. What time is the finance meeting? 4?
4 p.m. I'm sorry.
I have 2 items. If I may.
So that's the 4th and the 5th at 4 p.m.
Just get-
No.
No, 22nd.
May 22nd, 4 p.m., May 29th, Ag Committee at 6 p.m., June 5th, special meeting, 6 p.m.
Okay, I'll put it on the calendar.
Okay, Scott.
Thank you.
He's jumping at the bit.
Well, I have 2 items that I think covered, and it is, board member items. To add to the agriculture, one other thing, got an email from Dennis Posine, who, at our last ag meeting, there were, some ladies here who have about 20 acres of olives and wondering, what do we do with them now? How do we get them picked? Can we sell them anyplace? So he met with the Betancourts and whatnot, did a little bit of research. There's the possibility that we might look into forming a co-op using pickers, getting a better rate because there'd be multiple locations to pick. Right now, it seems that the olives are being shipped to either Vacaville or in Southern Oregon. But I understand that Bill Carter's no longer getting their olives from overseas, and they may be just buying from large growers. But if we formed a co-op, we might be able to get into that. So it's something to look at that would help the olive growers here. The other thing was at the EAGSA meeting today, they had a presentation by Duduck, a consulting firm for water resource. And they talked about providing technical assistance. They did provide some for the city of in Tehama. They have done it for other organizations. They will do it for tribal groups. They'll do it for community groups like ourselves. They'll do it for small farmers. And one of the things that, and they went through the criteria of what is a small farm. And that's anybody who generates an income from this activity of less than $350,000. So that probably encompasses most people within the district. Now, there are no grants available through them, but they will come and meet with you and guide you through some of the processes. Look into other organizations that may be able to help you with it, kind of steer you in the right directions. There's no cost to any of this at all. I've got the information here. Some of it we may want to put on the website, or some contact information at least, so that people can ask questions. Brennan Bishop of the City of Reading is going to email me a basic outline that we can then, and maybe have copies available here and whatnot, so that people can get some help with their wills or other issues. Am I covering it fairly well, Mr. Counselor? I thought I was.
Would that be an item for the Ag Committee? Make a presentation to that.
Possibly, but it could also be for the district itself, as far as helping with that 4 million tank at the water treatment plant, or other issues. It's worth considering. They'll come out, they'll, do a presentation for the board or for the staff. They appear to be very helpful. There was some concern expressed about gathering data and what's the state gonna do with it. Well, they do work with the tribal groups, and the tribal groups don't want their data shared with anybody, so it's all redacted. claims for the state to see. So if you're concerned about, what do they wanna know about my well depth and whatnot? We also approved a 2.1 million grant that will cover costs through about 2027. At least the draft of the 5-year report. May be able to stretch it to include the full 5-year, but beyond that, we're gonna start getting bills for our portion of it, which is 1/6 of the total cost. And that's all.
Okay. Pam?
Yeah.
Beverly,
I'm all good.
I have nothing.
you done? Adjourned.
All right,
And
Close.
7:20 for the recorder.
thank you.
Yeah, it's good I remember to say the date and everything. That's
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.